This is Harold Turner. I'm 98 years old. I was born and raised in Chickasaw County. I went to school in Oklahoma and 3 years in Egypt. And I was a cook and baker in the Army, but I was in the wrong place. About the fourth day, he put me in the kitchen and I give it everything I had. There's a little old corporal who had us out there trying to drill us. And this corporal, he didn't know much more than I did about it. Said, Mississippi, I'm good enough to throw a rock at you. I said, you go ahead and throw that rock and see how you come out. He didn't know it, but I could throw a rock better than I could shoot a shotgun. At age of 20, I wound up in North Carolina. I went to Camp Davis, North Carolina for my basic training. I stayed in there for 15 months in that basic training. And I was a misfit in the whole Army. I got a certificate of meritorious services. That's outstanding at your particular job. And I was one of 13 that got one of those. Everything I've done, I tried to overdo it. And that little corporal that was going to throw that rock at me, later on, he got killed. He was somebody that wanted a scout, and he volunteered for it. He went running out there and he said, you want to go with me? I said, no, I ain't going. I said, that's open field out there. You got an open target to shoot. I said, I don't want no part of that. So he went out there, and all of a sudden that fellow come out of that hedgerow shooting, holding his hand up, said, comrade, he wasn't supposed to do that. And they emptied 14 shells in that body. And then just a few minutes before that, he was doing fine. His name was Palmer. Well, at no time, I didn't know but what I was on Hall Beach. Boys was falling all around me. Blood and water, bodies dead. Some of them had been killed dead. They'd say, Mama, Mama, calling Mama. They was dying at the time, but they was calling them Mama. Mount Olive Baptist Church and my whole family was praying for me. And I didn't have nothing but what I was coming back. And I never did lose my faith. And I've seen some bad things. I've seen them boys falling all around, bullets, 20, 50 caliber machine guns hitting them. And that meant a lot to me in Mount Olive Baptist Church. One day, the revival was going on. And this had a long impression on me. The preacher preached on how Jonah ran from the Lord. And I just made the remark, I said, that's what you're doing. You ain't doing a thing in the world but running from the Lord. And all of a sudden the music stopped. And I looked at it, everything was all right, there wasn't nothing broke. And I said, well, y'all come up, music. So if I live, I said, good Lord, if you let me live the rest of the evening, I won't run no more. That night the revival was going on, and when he called the invitation, I was sitting in the back. There wasn't no trouble for me to walk down that aisle. General Patton was my leader, and I followed him all the way through the 3 battles, and he was wild too. I went from here to Boston, Massachusetts. I got on a SS Pasteur, that was a southern boat, and that thing had a 33 in the 3rd grade sway. And I thought sometime that thing wasn't going to straighten up. Well, it took me 8 days to cross the Atlantic Ocean. I landed in Liverpool, England. And from there, they called me, before we even landed, they called me on the loudspeaker and said, when we land, you report to the galley. Them German boats were engineered where they had to shoot over. They couldn't shoot down like this. They had to shoot up and then down. They couldn't shoot just straight in the way the guns were made. We had to shoot down. Had to shoot straight up and let the bullet fall in the water. We shot around 494 planes, and there were 17 of them that we didn't know whether we got them or not, but they know they didn't get back to the outfit. I come back to Boston, Massachusetts. I come back. I left Statue of Liberty, went around that 3 times, and there was a band on the boat doing the same thing, playing some hillbilly song. Band doing that. We went around that thing about twice, listening to that music. Some of the boys was crying and everything. Some of them didn't think they was gonna make it. I was one of them, but I still had faith that I was gonna come back. I still had faith. Hitler, on the line, he was in British France, and he didn't want to give up. So they held our outfit back to take Brest. And so I was one of the last ones getting away from that. Hitler didn't want to give up because, Brest was about 3 stories deep. Had about as much stuff. That was a supply depot, and they had about as much stuff on the ground as they had on top. And old Hitler didn't want to give up. The Germans had the very best of equipment. They had better jeeps, better guns, better everything than what we had. Their tanks were better than we had. Their jeeps were better than ours. About 30 ships lined up along that region. And they were going to have about 4,000 or 5,000 people on it, soldiers on it. And they was running off that, and them Germans was spraying that water like this. And just killing about half of them. That water was red with blood. And boys with uniforms on the rifle. But I managed to hold my rifle up. Water was up to here. And I'd hold my rifle up, because if that thing got wet, it wouldn't shoot. And folks falling all around you. I tried to forget a lot of that stuff. I was scared. When I jump off of that boat into the water, that's when I was scared. I knew my family and my church was praying too. I knew that. I could tell it. If it wasn't for that, I couldn't have made it, I reckon.